when the clouds started to fly and the trees started to be a bit shy, um, people started, or other living creatures, they started to have a sentimental value towards themselves. Reflection. Reflection is something which creates an image or creates a familiar sense, a familiar emotion, and reflection is important. Reflection is with sound, with an image, with all the with light particles. So reflection is all over the place. Reflection is like the basic science of optics, the basic formula of understanding the moments, the emotions related to moments and momentum. It's a big circle. Now, if you also think about picturizing in general, humans, when they started to recreate things, recreate images from, um, recreate a memory from their own brain, recreating anything takes a bit of practice, obviously, but a vision nonetheless. Vision is something which comes to you. It's a natural feeling. When you start seeing things, when you start picturizing things for yourself, when you start to know the importance of seeing the vision itself, understanding the vision itself, and making it big, letting it grow, and that vision at the end of the day is the outcome, the end result of what you have pictured. And that's how movies are created. That's how a picture is created. Now, movie have different types, obviously. Um, Movies in general. Now, I was talking about the past. I was talking about the history and how it could have been created. So we all know about our past, our ancestors, the cavemen, Neanderthals, and all these other people. And we are Homo sapiens now, so Homo erectus, and all the other um, humans, hominoids before us. We started to, or not just us, but other creatures, other wild animals, for example, or even pet animals, even animals who are living with you, they started to introduce themselves to each other. And that's how they started to remember other. So that's how eyes were created, or say um, a simple sense of recording was introduced to all the living creatures alongside humans. Now humans, we were very smart to have understood the application of all these recording and methods of showing or interpreting all the information needed. So humans were smart from earlier on, and they developed a method of preserving it and distributing it accordingly. So preservation is a very um, it's like the potential energy of the whole world itself. It's preservation is important. So we should know, or we need to have that information regarding or about preservation. That's how we preserve things. That's how we preserve it for future reference, to be used in future, or to be wisely used in the present itself. So preservation has impacted human civilization in a very unique way. Other, like storages and stuff, other creatures, they also preserve things. They also preserve things in a mystical way, in a very different way than to us, but obviously a very unique, a very slightly different, but yes, a very unique um, way of their own truly amazing behavior that they can possibly show. But with the humans, we do it differently, a bit differently. So that's how this is all a part of the method that we humans applied. The method was built The method was written, and then it was tested if it's really practical or not. And when it was approved by brilliant people out there, brilliant brains out there, then it kind of came into practice. Now, coming into practice also takes a bit of time, but its impact altogether, uh, it was a very massive. It was huge. So I would not like to go much into statistics at all, because I'm speaking a freestyle verse of my own understanding. So I'm not taking into consideration any dates or names in particular. If something is missed, or if something is not pronounced correctly, or kind of noticed correctly, then please forgive me for that. Anyway, so yes, movie making was adopted. So now we can kind of step into the main topic itself: movie making, making a movie or recording a picture, preservation of all sorts of memory. So this, negatives and stuff. There's these big bloody rules. That's how movie making was introduced to the human world. Apart from humans, other animals must have their own way of recording. Like they make nests and stuff. They have their own genetic memory, and they can think for themselves. They build houses and stuff, caves. They understand the importance of all the other elements of environmental application. So yes, they have their own sense, but I'm talking about humans in general. um so movie making obviously was introduced in, I don't know, late 17th century or maybe 18th century, or after that maybe. But Hollywood and Bollywood, the modern day cinema, the modern day interviews, the modern day day-to-day interactions between these people out there, and them creating a bubble, them creating a group, much needed. Obviously it was needed, because we have to advance in any form. So this form was important, and it was acquired by all these people out there behaving in a similar way. The characteristics, um, yes, characteristics, division, and then people are divided into their own criteria based groups. And these things are natural. So movie making, obviously late 17th, maybe 18th century. Early 19th century was kind of brilliant when animation and stuff came into existence, like practice. I'm talking about these things in general because I've studied interactive media. I've studied movie is in a deeper way, in a more authentic way, I would say, because official recognition does come handy when you're talking big topics like sports and movies and music and all sorts of different big heavyweight topics. So movie is obviously a heavyweight topic, and movie making, like I said, films and negatives and all sorts of different recording materials, cameras, obviously the optical lenses, and refining it to a level where the dimensions itself, the dimension of the world itself. Couple of dimensions. There's third dimension, fourth dimension. There's different types of. Now we can also go to eight dimensional way of seeing things. Dimension or dimension. 16Ds and 32Ds. Kind of doubled or maybe tripled or maybe quadrupled or whatever. So yes, I will also go into the application of how it is done, and the scientific, the optical aspect of movie making and stuff. But first, let's clear how movies were generated and how movie came into practice, and how movies are the biggest thing that is happening right now. Movies are the biggest thing that's happening out there. That's shaping the that's shaping the whole human form itself, the general shape itself of all human entire way of thinking, way of criticizing, way of understanding, way of accepting, way of inventing, way of different types of applications of movies in a general human's brain or a general human's life. Now, when movies was developed, obviously in 17th, 18th, 19th century, it came from dramas, because dramas were live, a way of like storytelling and stuff. Storytelling before that was in form of music, but I'm not talking about music at all. It's a whole different topic altogether. But music, yes, the way of frequency, the way of wavelength that was essential for a ear, kind of uh, your ear lobes or your eardrums to kind of process and um, recognize and send this message back to the brain that yes, this is a welcoming sort of wavelength, this is a welcoming sort of sound, and I understand, I know this sound, I empathize with this sound. So this is the way of communication between brain and ear itself. When a recognized sound is played again and again, there's this memory. Obviously, there's this brilliant way of mechanism of your brain. Ear is the most vital sense organ itself. So yes, that's how music was very influential to all the humans, and movies took over because there was this two method of visualization. That's how I would say, two-way process. So you can also hear, and at the same time you can also see and picturize. So your brain works in it's multitasking, definitely, and your brain is more than happy to process these information in a matter of seconds, matter of milliseconds, definitely. So brain is like the biggest. Now I'm also not talking about biology at all. I will definitely make other topics. So this is only about me, movies, and relating to the surfacial information that's required to movie making and understanding the human physiology itself. But I'm not talking about physiology in this video. But I'll obviously make another video for that someday. I'll speak about that in a general video or some other video someday. Yes, so from music, dramas were performed, and the artists. Now, when it comes to movie, I'd have to explain about a few different aspects about actors and about actresses, directors, and how this has shaped the whole human societal complexity that's built right now. Um, So from dramas, the performers, they kind of enhanced their thinking capability, and then they thought that this can be progressed, or this can be made bigger, or we can go big, or this can be grand, or something like that. So the people in general, they decided to kind of give it a try. So camera was invented, obviously. The whole industrial revolution. I'm also not going into science so much. The whole industrial revolution, industrialization in the 19th century, it was big, it was massive. Then came 20th century, which was the late 19th century, or say the early 21st century. This is a very it's a remarkable era of development for humans. It's a remarkably fast development. When you think about it, the 21st century itself has seen so many changes as compared to any other developmental index would show otherwise. Back in the days, like 17th, 18th century, yes, like 18th century, I think, was industrialization, and banking and stuff was introduced in later 19th century when banks collapsed. There's these movies, The Big Short, I think, from Christian Bale and Ryan Gosling, I think, and other actors were also in that movie. So The Big Short is a good movie. Yeah, it talked about all the things that happened with banks and stuff in late 19th century, and sorry, late 20th century and 21st century. The early 21st century was obviously more exposed towards all the media personals and people who were highlighting these things through the method of movie making and stuff. Now highlights is important. Highlighting is important. When you highlight something, it gives you that upper hand to kind of revisit it. Revisiting means you don't have to pay anything about it. You don't have to, it's not on your expenses. Revisiting definitely means you own it. You own it, and then you can revisit it, go back to what's needed and what's not needed. So yes, media kind of guided these things, and humans, they had their own way to process it through. mm, Later 19th century. Yes, 70s, 1970s, 1980s, 19 The Godfather and stuff, Shawshank Redemption, Schindler's List, Casablanca, all these movies. Before that, Walt Disney in 18th century, 19th century, and music. So there was this revolution, musical revolution, movie revolution. Musical revolution was definitely in 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. Not so much now, because there's no such thing called revolution. Everything is it's a simulated form of everything that has happened before us and is going to happen after us. So this is a very simulated stage of life that we're living right now. Obviously, a side effect of movies and digitalization, and yes, all other progressive nature, or the outcome of the byproduct, obviously, of movie making, and yes, musical revolution and stuff. So I was talking about 70s, 70s, 80s, 90s, not so much in 2010s. Yes, there was this different sort of vibe, but it was not a united vibe. It was not an united vibe. It was a different sort of vibe into early to 21st century, say 2000s to 2020 till 2022, because I was born in 1997, so I was generation, I don't know, generation X or baby boomer or whatever they call it. But yes, there was this characteristic one, because they know the statistics that have been presented to them. They know, because of the fact of their economical brain. They understand the government itself, and people who have studied economics and all these other different subjects related to maths and how to predict the outcome of certain mathematical formulas, using certain mathematical formulas and all the equations that are presented to them. They've understood the value of multiplying these equations or solving these equations, and that's how they proceed, that's how they progress, and that's how they operate. Basically, operation in general is up to them to kind of understand the maths and then reevaluate it, and reevaluation also gives them the opportunity, the upper hand, to go beyond some criterias and take that privilege, and that's what they do. The economists in general, when they understand economy. um yes. So early 2010, I think early 2000s also was good for movies. I would say 1990s was the golden era for movies. Movies like Taxi Driver, Goodfellas, and The Shawshank itself, Green Mile, Forrest Gump. Brilliant, brilliant movies. Brilliant, brilliant movies. I can only name a few, because I'm not going to statistics at all. Yes, brilliant movies, brilliant, that reshaped the understanding of movie making. The directors like Alfred Hitchcock, and movie star like um, I'm forgetting so many names: Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, and so many other brilliant artists. Christian Bale, I love Christian Bale. Leonardo DiCaprio, obviously. There's so many other actors. Clint Eastwood. I was thinking about Henry Fonda. So many different artists, and if I would start to name so many of them, it would just be a confusing video. So I would go into a different aspect of how movie making can can and is going to, or how it has shaped the societal complexity so far, and how it can possibly shape us in how many in so many ways. um, so until now, movies have given us an opportunity to do it ourselves. Like, so there's different elements included in movie making. Like there's directors, producers, actors, camera crews, and editors, and there's different aspects. So basically, the most writers, obviously. So the most important factor in movie making is it's a collective business. So it does not work single-handedly, and none of the other businesses or multi-million dollar businesses, like multi-million dollar companies, multi-billion dollar companies, they don't work single-handedly. There's people responsible for it. There's maths responsible for the production value or the development of any sort of business whatsoever. Not just business, but organizations, companies, and any form of group has to work under a system. It's a general system altogether. So I'm also not going into philosophy in this one, but yes, the general system of development. So there's directors, producers, cinematographers, videographers, camera crew, and all sorts of editors and stuff. Now there's so and the mixture is very precise. The solution is very precise. The solute and solvent has to react in a certain way, which gives a perfect solution to all the requirement, based on the requirements and based on the demand and based on the need of the general public. So who is the general public? General public is someone who is living that moment, shared by someone else. So shared by actors, collective efforts of actors, directors, producers, and all these other people. So that's how a movie is made, and I'm not going into technical aspect of it, how projector is projecting the movies and stuff. It's reeled on a film, and then it's kind of enhanced, and the quality of camera kind of zooms in the picture that's recorded already. And so that's how projection is done, and it's the prism, dispersion of light and refraction and stuff, and there's different sort of optical formulas to be able to prove and to be able to say precisely what is the angle of a movie, what is the angle of how it's done, when should it be recorded, and all the emotional or say all the memories, or say all the information that's related to the correct angle, the correct design, the correct fixture, or correct feature. So that's how it's known. All the information's back, and so it's written, and it's presented towards us, and that's how we act on the previous information that's recorded. That's how studying and research, and so yeah, projection, we know how it's projected and stuff, but how it's recorded. Now different angles of a movie, emotional angle, how it should be presented and how it has been presented. So there's different TV shows and different movies that have their own genres. So that's how genres are introduced. Genres basically are types. So different types, different collective individuals, because all humans are different, and different but similar, not same but similar. So humans have similar characteristics which can be intersected, which has an intersection, and it can be filtered out, and these filtered qualities can be put together, and it forms a group, it forms a bond, and then these groups act together to form a collective outcome. So yes, so now there's say hundreds of people working in a film itself. They have to go find a set, or they have to go do a thing. uh, and now that's when the technical term comes in, the actual movie making. So it has a period of time. It's done for a certain period of time, say 40 days or 50 days, 2 months, 3 months, years. So depending on the size of the movie, depending on the budget of the movie. So I will also talk about size and budget and other important aspects of movie at the end of the video itself. So yeah, this is how movies should be done, and all the people coming in, putting their efforts, putting their views, putting their points of views, their opinions, their own ideas, and that's how these collective ideas form to be something unbelievable, and that's how people tend to be very much inclined towards movie making and towards understanding the beautiful aspect of movie making, and how it is important and how it has shaped us. So it's like researching and re-evaluating our general informations that has been presented to us. um, why all of this? Because children, when they grow up, they kind of see, they kind of picturize, they kind of visualize, and at the end of the day, the same visuals, the same visions, they shape their dreams, and they shape their cognitive realities, and they shape how they see the real picture, the reality, how they predict the reality, how they presume the reality, how they perceive the reality. So reality for children is a big meaningful discussion itself, and that's when movies come into act, when people without being able to understand the whole aspect of movie making itself, they go into movie making, they get hurt obviously, because they imagine character development and stuff, and they imagine themselves to be the better version of them, but still it's like a big bloody competition. So that is why we should understand that everything has its own time, has its own way, a certain way, and its own pace. So if you ought to achieve something, then you have to wait. So you can't just rush and get things instantly. It's like a matter of patience. It's a matter of understanding. It's a matter of acceptance, definitely, and it's a matter of patience, persistence. Um, Yes, so movie making obviously teaches us about all these things, because there's different stories, different genres, different types, obviously, different stories, meaning different genres. So we've got sci-fi, we've got comedy, we've got romantic, we've got action-packed thriller, psychological thriller, and black comedy, and all sorts of different types of movies, genres of movies, let's say. So when you understand genre in particular, sci-fi gives you that ability to kind of enhance into the world of future, where you don't even have to think back into your own existential life, or own present day thoughts, or own present day uh, desires, or on present day adventures. So yeah, definitely you'd have to think about picturizing things in your own way, in your own manner. um, Different types of movies, obviously, different genres. Sci-fi, romantic means something which gives you that emotion of love, which is I think the biggest emotion now. But these emotions, according to these movies, according to these movie making procedures, these emotions should not be prioritized in any way whatsoever. So that's why the sole purpose of a movie, or the sole significance of movie until now, has been kind of similar to all people. It's a what do you call that, upgrade. It's an upgrade, but it's a collective upgrade. It's not like a person is reacting differently to any other movie because he's been isolated from something. No, his brain obviously kind of is enhanced in a way to perceive that information, but yes, paper it would not seem so. It would seem otherwise. It would seem that a person, if he's isolated from a certain type of movie, would react different, like from with sci-fis and stuff. If I'm from a village, a rural area, who has never been introduced to any information whatsoever related to black holes, or say astrophysics, or any other astronomical advancements, and so I would definitely be surprised to see the movie. I would not even understand so many of them, like movies like Inception, and movies like psychological thrillers, like what's who's that guy, Matthew McConaughey? What's the movie, Interstellar? Yeah, so different movies, sci-fis and stuff. We would not be able to. People would not have been able to understand if they were from rural, or they were not even introduced to the idea itself, astrology and stuff. So that's why people in every other part of the world, they have been introduced with certain ideas of fiction, with certain ideas of fairy tale, with certain ideas of possibilities. So that's what sci-fi does. Romantic, definitely, it's a real life happening, and people do react to relate to these things in general. um, Psychological thriller, yes, it's happening in society, so people also kind of want to know more about these sorts of happenings. So and now there comes a war between, between genres there comes a contradiction between false claims and true claims, like reality and fiction, fact and fiction. With movies, people have forgot to understand, or say they have kind of neglected this part of decision making at all, altogether, because people started to spend most of the time understanding it and kind of accepting it, so they denied all the possibility of rejection at all at once. So that has happened, and people have started to accept every other stories. They do not deny most of them, even if they deny it, what do you call that, temporarily. But after a certain point of time, he would start, or he or she would start to accept the real outcome, the possible outcome of the story, because they want to know. We as humans, we want to know more, and we want to understand more. So this is how we understand movie making and different genres itself. Now different genre would produce different types of actors, definitely. So actors, and then out going to different types of movie making and future, and directors and stuff. So actors are very important. Acting is a very important element in movie making. Like one of the most vital, vital aspect of movie making itself, because acting is something which is performed, which is lived, which is produced, which is what do you call that? Which is dispersed. So the light inside of you is kind of dispersing. Every energy in you is kind of fragmenting, and the rule of fragmentation says that every other fragmented particle would go and attach to some other whole particle. So the elements separate, and then they form a compound and stuff. So every other information that an actor has to share is presented to the general public, and they would react accordingly, and they would shape their lives accordingly, seeing the actors, picturizing the actors, and following the actors. So acting is crucial in that aspect. And direction, obviously, direction means if you understand better than the actor, then you are to direct the actor in a certain way. So that's called direction. Production is definitely money making, budget and stuff, because movie making is huge, and they make millions and billions of dollars a year on them. So the revenue is like massive. And if you think about any other production, well, like automotive and stuff, you can only compare so much to so little to so much, and so much to so little. So movie making obviously has a big budget revenue when you think about it and compare it to any other budgeting and stuff in general, like real estate, or say scientific inventions and stuff. So it can be related. It can be related in that particular way, and that's why production is important. Editing is definitely important. Editing means, so now when it comes to the technical aspect, editing definitely means enhancing, or say improving the quality of movie making that has been done over the past period of time, and what can be done, what can be improved. So people now in general, they have started to picturize more. They want to stay in the rest position, and definitely they want to kind of live instantly. So they want more information at a rapid pace, which does not even or say they don't want to bother at all, which do not even impact their ability to think and their ability to process the information. So it's like they want that direct information itself. So movie gives you that direct information. um with is obviously with movie making, so editing was important in that technical aspect. When you think about more pictures, more stories, more, but if the instant, if the reaction time was minimized, say, so you get these frames per second, like I'm observing this bulb, but if it's minimized, if it's reduced, if it's a fraction of seconds, then the information is practically mine to own, because I'm living in this room and my eyes are enhanced and stuff like that. So it's a general way of predicting the future, or say, futurist. Being a futurist means that you can obviously, on the given information, on the given statistics, you can predict the future in some way. Maths is involved, formulas are involved, and formulas can always prove out to be a right method of, or a true method of understanding itself. Now, with yes, editing, it's done because, like, three dimensions and stuff. When you start to see, or start to live that moment with a dinosaur, you're picturizing a dinosaur sitting inside a movie theater. You are getting that information at a bigger frequency, and at a bigger range, at a bigger massive, not just once or twice, but hundreds of times of bigger picture, bigger information bits, which is minimized, compressed, so that your brain can function more. So it's like improving your brain capability to think itself. The ability to enhance your brain, it comes in a different packages, like meditation and stuff. So it's a form of meditation. You sit down there and you start to picturize, you start to visualize, you start to know, you start to rely on that information that has been provided to you. And that's how editing and this whole aspect of movie making is all about. Now, movie making nowadays, so I'll not brag about it, but obviously, when you study interactive media, you are exposed to this different lists and different, playlists and stuff. So yes, I've seen quite a few movies, Hollywood, Bollywood, Tollywood, and all the other. So Bollywood is basically Indian movies. So these are the two biggest movie industries in the world at the moment, Hollywood and Bollywood, right? The production number of movies produced in a year, Bollywood can surpass Hollywood by 700-800 movies, which is double the size of the movie production value that Hollywood has. Hollywood is based in Los Angeles and Bollywood is based in Mumbai. And I'm from Nepal, so we obviously have Kollywood, a smaller version of Woodwood. But yes, obviously, so there's these actors, actresses, directors and stuff. And even in India, Bollywood is massive. It's like bigger than everything. Hollywood, not so much worldwide, because global audience, the size of information that's provided to one person per area would be definitely reduced because of the density of population scattered worldwide. But with Bollywood, no, the general feeding media, or the general feeding population is right, densely populated, and then that's how they picture together. That's how they see the collective picture, which is a different application from a scarcely scattered population itself. It's a bit technical when it comes to how it reacts differently with different types of media and stuff. So that's why Bollywood is so popular. Not just Bollywood, but if you talk about South Indian movies in India, if you're so familiar with movies, if you know movies at all, South Indian movies are like the biggest thing in India happening right now, with pan India movies and stuff. Yeah, I would love to react on those trailers and stuff. If you wish me to do that, you can obviously comment and you can let me know, and I can do that in the coming future when I would have that interest span to kind of communicate in front of you. And my social anxiety, with my social anxiety being eradicated, I would obviously love to interact more and react more. Reaction is good. Reaction is a good way of, and yes, there's Patreons and stuff, and that's how they're making money and stuff. So I would always like to generate some sort of income from this media. Not much, but obviously some sort of income to be able to kind of correlate, or to be able to kind of compare it to to the significance of my own life, to how I should do things and how I've done things till now. I talked about movies today. So yesterday, the other day, I uploaded a video which was about cricket, because I play cricket. I thought I knew something about a general topic, so that's why I thought about speaking about cricket. So that was my first video. But this one is obviously about movies, because I think I know a bit about movies. I'm not saying that I know it all. I'm not a know-it-all at all. I just know a bit about something, and I would obviously like to share it to so many people in general. So that's the motive I talk about movies today. So let's end it with 5-10 minutes of information about movie, deeply about movies, and then we can wrap this video up as well. um, so these actors and celebrities and media personals who are established and who are living all over the world, some living in Florida, some living in Los Angeles, some living in Paris, London, Mumbai, and all these other countries. Chinese movie production value is big, it's massive, and all the other movie production value in every other region of the world. Now there's multiple. So what happens is, people nowadays, we've got TikToks and we've got YouTubes and we've got short videos, we've got Instagram and Facebook and Meta and whatnot. So we've got this opportunity to we've got this platform to kind of create our own movie. So movie is basically a recording which can be presented to a certain mass, a certain group of people, a certain similar interest span carrying people. So that's how movies, they are related. YouTube videos, they have these protocols like Google AdSense. I think the obviously the augmented reality, the artificial intelligence of Google, they have these procedures, they have these formulas, they have these codes imprinted within them to kind of think and know about what videos and know about. So there is this artificial intelligence at a very deep level with social media and movies itself. So we can't understand, we can't express, or we can't communicate much about these things, um, because it's a very live happening thing. And to be able to share everything about current thing is a massive task. So you can't explain much about present. You can only explain so much about about the past that's happened, and so much about the future that is going to happen. But if you start to communicate about present, no one would bother to understand, because they're living in that moment. So that's how it works. um as with movies, people, celebrities established all around the world, they have this way of understanding the world, way of, because they know the stories definitely more than any other people, as compared to the people who are not exposed to the stories at the same pace, at the general pace. So these people, they understand more, and they are involved with the government itself. They're involved in movie making. So every other government, they have these revenues from their movie industry. So Bollywood obviously helps a lot in India's economic development and everything. With Hollywood, America has kind of become the global supreme power what it is now. India itself, it is a global superpower. So they know how to understand their industries, and movie industry is one of them. Now we've got big bloody actors in Hollywood, big bloody paid actors like Dwayne Johnson and Christian Bale, Leonardo DiCaprio, Matt Damon, Tom Cruise, and Jason Momoa, and obviously Chris Hemsworth, and so many other actresses. And you've got celebrities like Ariana Grande, Shakira, Beyonce, Jenner family, Kardashian family, and all these other people, Kanye West, and hip hop in general. So I'm not talking about music at all, but I'm talking about celebrities and movie making and stuff like Kevin Hart and all these people. They have their impact, and they talk to these people. They talk to the people in government, and that's how they relay the information, relay the source of information, and relay how they want things to be shaped, how they want society to be shaped. So we should, and I'm not saying it's bad, it's a good thing. We should respect these people because they have managed to do these things. Yes, obviously ending with how to get over the fact of being a TikToker and being a YouTube personal and not being able to generate that income at their level because they're making the big thing. So yes, big thing can be made, and the bubble can always be enhanced. I'm talking about this bubble in every other video that I'm making, because bubble is generally it's like a set. If you've studied, if you remember, if we remember, a set which is made, and then we've got different sets, a universal set, and then we've got different sets like round shaped sets, and the intersection is always important. Different characteristics they meet, and they intersect with different people. They kind of coincide with different people, correlation of different people, and that's how different types of movies are made. So that's why bubbles can be enhanced. Bubble movie bubble can be enhanced, so you can go and talk to those people who you see on the TV, on the television, or on internet, or your any device that you are seeing, or whatever you are. So you can go and talk to those people in general after a few years time, after a few years time, 5 years, 10 years, or if I can calculate everything down, if I can put everything down in say 5 to 10 years time, everything would be so easier to access, like accessible. With being accessible, it's also about how people would react with each other, and with demonetization, with understanding the value of sentiments, understanding the sentimental value of materialism. People would obviously be able to get a hold of these things, and I hopefully wish that people should be headed towards a better future than this. Definitely, I would hope so. With yes, movies with more picturization, with more augmented reality coming into practice, with more VR and virtual reality stuff. So these things will provide us humans with an opportunity to enhance our brain, to kind of enlighten, and to kind of understand the importance of the stories, understand the importance of listening to each other, understanding the importance of kind of communicate and kind of live in peace. Definitely peace is important, and I'm being a bit fast with this topic because I can't be so slow with so many topics. It's informative, so obviously in some years time I would practice more and more, and kind of be more in contact with people, or say more impactful in my communication. Right, thank you so much for watching yet another video. I would obviously love to make some more videos, as I said in my previous video. Just keep supporting, maybe. Try to comment, like, share, whatever you can do. So yes, I would obviously love to, in coming future, I would obviously love to make some more videos about more general topics. Ask me questions. Alright, capiche. Thanks.